Hello and welcome to season 4 of M&H Breakfast Banter. Already season 4, Anita.
Yeah, time's flying.
Got some very, very special guests lined up for the season. Of course, M&H is M, Anita Menon, and H is Ron Howard, myself. The 31st episode.
Yes.
I didn't think we'd get this far, but we have. Been a lot of changes, and one of the changes is that we have a new sponsor. Please let them know who our sponsor is.
So we're very delighted to let our audience know that season 4 is sponsored by EasyPay. And you must know this name. It's very, very easy to spot their POS machines in all the leading merchants like hypermarkets and other retail outlets. So thank you, EasyPay, for being our sponsor for this season, and more about them later.
Yes, thank you very much. We are still Breakfast Banter, but the breakfast has not yet turned up, and maybe it will come halfway through or something like that.
Yeah.
Something also new is that we have a special guest who is the first of our guests that doesn't live in Bahrain.
Yes, our overseas guest.
Yeah, we caught him on a business trip here. He's an old friend of mine, and I'm pleased that he contacted me while he was here. One of the differences this time, Anita, is it is the first time that we've had a guest who doesn't live in this country. We're very lucky to pick up this guest who is on a business trip, a very short business trip. I've known him a long time. He contacted me when he came, and I thought, yeah, let's get him on the podcast for some insight into what is actually your favourite subject, marketing.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk about how to market a global product locally. So
That's correct, yes. So we better introduce him. It is Adam Pearce. Hello, Adam.
Hello, Ron. Hello, Anita.
Adam currently works for a UK-based company called Brush Baby as their international sales manager. The brand specialises in paediatric oral care from birth through to the age of 10 and can be found in Bahrain via Baby Essentials shop and Baby Shop in Centre Point. But you haven't been there too long, Adam, have you?
No, I've been there about 9 months now. I've worked in consumer goods for around 10 to 12 years now. Time does fly. Looking after a couple of probably a little bit more well-known brands. One of them called Morphy Richards, which is quite is a large brand in the UK, and it has some significant presence globally.
Right. So we're lucky to have him. We're looking at this internationally, which I don't think we've really done before, have we?
No,
Subject
but
internationally.
we are
And we hope
expanding.
at the end of what will be 2 podcasts,
Yes.
Anita at least will have learnt something, because she is currently expanding her business, are you not?
Yes, I am.
Outside of the Kingdom of Bahrain. So we're hoping that your advice, knowledge, wisdom and experience will kind of guide her in the right direction.
Yes, I'm looking forward to all the advice.
I'll certainly do my best. Hope not to disappoint too much.
No, I'm sure you won't. So tell us about your role at the moment.
Well, firstly, thank you for having me on. It is an absolute honour to be the first non-Bahraini resident on the podcast.
Actually, we have expats as well.
Non-Bahraini
And we have
residents.
Bahrainis as well.
Okay.
An international guest.
Okay,
Let's put it like that.
Let's put it that way. And I'll rephrase that. The first international guest. It's an absolute honour and a pleasure to be here. I am looking forward to explaining my role, as the majority of people back home believe I just go on a long holiday. So it will be nice for them to see something, along with helping you, Anita, see something that I actually do on a regular basis, and to know I'm not sunning it up everywhere I go.
So, okay then, well, let's see, how many markets are we talking that you've worked in?
So I've worked in, or certainly had experience of working in around 80 markets across the globe.
Is that 80 countries?
80 countries, yeah. 80
Is that more than you?
Definitely.
Right.
Some of those I haven't visited, and it's just been conversations via Zoom or Teams or in the olden days before pre-pandemic Skype. But I've visited around 40 of those. The majority of those have been in Europe, the Middle East, the Far East, Australasia, with a little bit of experience recent experience in North America and South America.
So
fantastic.
pretty large geographical area then.
Indeed, yes, indeed.
Okay, so what kind of products do you have experience in?
So all of my experience is based in consumer goods. So when I say I've worked in a market, my role is either to develop the existing market or to open a new market to it with the best channel.
Oh, so you're looking at opening new markets through agents, distributors?
So there are a few ways you can look at a market, and we can go into that in more detail, and it is quite critical into how you actually market the brand locally. So when you are looking at a new market specifically, you're looking at, predominantly there's 4 routes to market, maybe 5 if you're looking at somewhere like Indonesia. This is specific to consumer goods, but looking at services, some of these you're probably not going to be looking at because it may not be relevant to the service that you're selling. So when you're looking at consumer goods, you're looking at direct to e-commerce.
You do that, don't you?
Not yet.
Oh, not yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Direct to retail.
No.
Through an agent. So to clarify what an agent actually is, what I'm talking about with an agent, and then a distributor. So the difference between an agent and a distributor is the agent will go out and get you meetings with a client, and then you will actually be the person to close that deal.
Okay.
A distributor will be your local market representative.
Okay.
And then finally, in some markets, it may be wise to give the business, the market, a licensing agreement. So because a lot of the products that I've done in the past have been premium products, and they don't actually translate across to somewhere which has a cultural difference to the UK or any other market. So we give them the possibility to actually produce their own products under our brand name.
Okay. So it's sort of a franchise.
Yes, kind of, and there's some level of control. We authorise those products all the time. We have to test those products before they can actually take them to market.
So you test these baby products?
No, so in this particular company, we don't have any licensing because our SKU count is quite low.
So do you have a preferred choice for market entry?
So I would say my expertise is in managing distributors, and the reason for that is basically because they are your local market representative. And as we're talking about marketing, you get the most bang for your buck, the most amount of you can maximise your marketing spend via a distributor. Okay. So some of the mistakes that small and medium businesses do when they're trying to enter a new market or develop a new market is they believe that the local market is exactly the same as is the same as their local market. Yeah. So they believe that they can manage a different market in exactly the same way. They can put their marketing spend in one direction when in actual fact you need to go in another direction in that market. So working with a distributor allows you to really channel that spend into the right areas.
And what level of control do you have?
Well, I have overall control of the strategy, working with them closely. I will authorise any additional spend from the brand. We usually provide them some kind of rebate. We provide them brand guidelines. We provide them assets to work with in their local market that they may need to adjust to suit. So as an overall though, so that gives me the overall control, and then on a day-to-day basis, the distributor will have some level of control as to what they're doing in certain retailers.
If I can just retract and just go back a little
Yeah.
bit, a few steps, I want to know a bit more about how big the company is, which is Brush Baby, for who you're doing this international sales in so many countries. So that we know, what we're dealing with in terms of size.
So Brush Baby at the minute is around £5 million, so around $7.5 million, with a plan to expand to around $20 million within 3 years.
Okay.
My other brands that I've worked with have been a little bit bigger. Morphy Richards was part of a large multinational business which was turning over about $5 billion. Morphy Richards on its own was turning over around 150. A previous one before that, which was working in power tools, was turning over around $30 million.
Do you actually do a feasibility before entering any market as a brand?
Yes.
So how do you go about that?
So there's a combination of things. One of them is in-market research. One of the most critical things that you must do is actually go into the market to see what the competitors are, what the pricing structure is, or which retailer is the most relevant to your product, which e-commerce platform is the most relevant to your product, etc., etc., etc. Then there's also desk research. So there are specific market research websites. One that I like to use is called Euromonitor. That will go into more detail. That will go into the minutiae and the small details of who are the distributors, for example, what are the market trends, what are the expected market trends, and then I create a whole package and a whole presentation before I enter that market.
So how do you decide that in your group? How does that decision come about that, okay, this is the market we need to target next?
So really, that's looking at the. Firstly, it starts within in-desk market research with the Euromonitor. You create a presentation, you create a feel for the market. And quite a mistake that a lot of small businesses make is they usually target the largest market. However, the largest market is usually at saturation point.
Yeah. So red ocean, as they say.
Yeah, red ocean. Yeah. That's
Red ocean?
Yes.
Instead of blue ocean or blue sky?
Blue sky marketing, red ocean, different terms.
Right,
Yeah.
right, okay.
So, as a small business, you cannot make the mistake, because if you get burnt in one large market, the likelihood is you may even lose your business.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen on a couple of occasions. So we do a feasibility study, as you said, based on the marketing data. A lot of people will make the mistake of actually looking at the largest market, but that often is the wrong choice. The way I tend to go about things is try and look at medium-sized markets where I can see a gap within the market.
Yeah.
So when I was in Morphy Richards, for example, I opened up the South Korean market, and that wasn't the largest market in the region. It was actually China and Japan. But when you were looking at the brands that were existing in the marketplace, it was quite clear that there was a gap and a niche for our product.
Okay.
So that's tends to be.
Okay.
So part one, this one is about the macro look at it.
Yeah.
Part two will be more
Yes.
micro. So what mistakes have you made then?
One of the first mistake I made when I was starting this was exactly that mistake that I've just talked about, looking at the largest market and saying let's go for that market. Just didn't work. With that, I didn't create a strategy to go into that marketplace, and I found that because I didn't have the right expectations of the market. My expectations were far and away of what was actually could be achieved, and that's definitely something that is common and prevalent in most small businesses. Another mistake that I've made, which is again very prevalent in small businesses and medium-sized businesses, is they often let the distributor choose them rather than the business choosing the right distributor for them. And by that, what I mean is you'll go to, let's say, an exhibition, and you're looking for a distributor or an agent or a retailer, and somebody will come up to you and they'll go, I want to buy your product and I will sell it in a certain market. And because they're a small business and they're excited, they'll go, okay, I'll do that. But it's not the right one. So then further down the line, you then have a lot of work to actually move away from that partner, fix the mistakes that partner's made within the marketplace, and it can set you back several years.
And how long does it take to develop a market normally?
So to open a market, it depends upon. So I know your question is to develop a market. I'm going to go back from the start. So to open a market, it can anywhere from 6 to 12 months.
You got that?
To develop the market to its maximum capacity can take up to 5 years.
Have you got that long?
Yes.
It may be different for a service because I'm talking about consumer goods here, and with consumer goods comes a lot of approvals. So
a lot of health and
health approvals.
Yeah.
At the minute, we have to go through electrical approvals for our toothbrushes and cosmetics because we do toothpaste. Yeah. Because it's a cosmetics, that can take up to 12 months in certain markets.
A lot of legalities to
massive amount of legalities in that, and so you can some are easier to obtain, some are significantly harder to obtain. For example, the Japanese mark and the Korean mark are extremely hard to get. The CE mark in Europe is not as difficult to get. And surprisingly, some of the African marks are particularly difficult to get.
You call them marks?
Yeah, registrations, marks.
trademarks.
Oh, that kind of mark.
Trademarks.
Right.
Well, so trademarks. So trademarks and registrations. So IP is the trademark. Registration is it's fit to send to marketplace.
And how's Middle East for you in terms of the difficulty or the ease of getting into the market?
So ease of getting into the market. So we're in Dubai. We have a small presence in Saudi, a small presence in Bahrain, and a small presence in Kuwait and Qatar. So we've been in the market for about 5 years now in some certain places. We had a lot of difficulty obtaining the GCC stamp at the start, but once you've obtained that, it's not too difficult to move forward when it needs renewing. In terms of actually working in the Middle East, it can be quite challenging, particularly moving forward with new business. Things tend to move a lot slower in this kind of region than some other regions.
Do we also talk about how a distributor should qualify to become your distributor? What aspects?
Yeah, so I have a kind of 7 rules there, and I've actually just noted them down so I don't forget them actually. Because it's so the first thing you need to do is make sure.
The rule of 7. Here we go. Rule of 7.
So it was particularly for the distributor?
So when I started
the 7 effective principles of Adam
like Stephen
marketing.
Covey. Stephen Covey's?
The 7 effective principles of
Yeah.
successful people. This is 7 effective principles of Adam.
So this is 7 effective. I don't think I'm the one who developed this. Unfortunately. I think I've made a lot more money than I have done right now.
All right, but you're still young.
But well, you never know. Maybe I can improve them and develop them. So when I'm looking at a distributor, I have 7. So the first thing I do is create a list of things that I want them to actually be. So that may be enthusiastic, maybe it certainly will be significant financial ability.
That's me gone then. Yeah, sorry.
It will be what products do they have already? Does it complement my portfolio? Does it compete with my portfolio? So there's a scorecard that I create, but the 7 rules that I have is 1, you must, as I mentioned earlier, you must select the distributor. You cannot let them select you, because that happens on a regular basis, particularly for small businesses. You must look for a partner, and it should be called partner, not necessarily distributor, who can actually develop the market and want to develop the market. So I've worked with many businesses, existing partners, who've probably got 70 to 80 brands. So we may be 76th, and it's a constant battle to actually get them to focus on your brand.
Right.
So the ideal number is between 8 and 10, I would say.
What number are we at now
2.
of the principals?
2. We're on I'm going on to the 3rd now.
Okay. No, but if you could, I'm an accountant, so you
Yeah,
could say
look,
number
this-
1, number 2, number 3.
Okay, so number 1, apologies, I know this may not be your cup of tea because we're not talking
I don't have a
about-
cup of tea at all yet.
This may not be your account-focused mind,
Finance,
finance mind. I'm sorry about
But that's just part of it, right?
But I'm on the same page, Adam.
It's
I'm on the
okay.
same page.
We can talk about ROI if you like. And
I
things
see
like
that's
that
there.
at
Do you
some
know what that
point.
means?
Return on investment, yes, I do. So number 3, you must look for a long-term partner, not a short-term entry to the market.
How long is that?
I would always sign a 5-year contract with a distributor minimum,
Okay.
with the option to extend that further down the line.
Okay.
Some of them are 3, but the reason for that is because I don't want to, the brand doesn't want to be putting its finances into a partner who's going to run away in a year's time. And likewise, that will give them the confidence to invest in the brand and invest in the marketing, invest in the store displays, invest in the listing fees, etc., etc. And number 4, you must support them financially, as and when you can
Don't
support
they
them.
have their own finances?
They do. This is why you use the distributor to maximise the marketing potential and maximise the finance that you have. So you will support them financially, and you would expect them to support the brand financially as well.
Okay.
So
So there's a
essentially, you're doubling-
budget
Yeah, you're
carved
doubling
out.
your budget in that market through what you can provide as a brand and also what the distributor can provide as a brand. You don't get that going through e-commerce, going through retail channels and agents either, because that is all of your marketing spend. You will have to do the listing fees for retail and e-commerce. You will have to do the any rebate support, any marketing support, and when you're going into somewhere like China and you don't necessarily speak Chinese, you don't know the local market, that becomes quite difficult. So this is why I mentioned, you asked me earlier, and I'm digressing back, I apologise. This is why I would recommend a distributor over something like going directly into retail or e-commerce.
Okay.
For a service, maybe an agent would work.
Okay.
And then number 5, make sure that they're comfortable with you having a level of marketing control of what they're doing. As a brand, you would always create a brand guideline and expect them to
What?
follow a brand guideline
Right.
of how you expect them to market the brand. Yeah,
Well,
how-
we've got 2 marketing people here. You would know exactly what he means straight away. I mean,
I do.
not everybody who's listening or watching knows these.
how you then within that you create assets and make sure that they follow the right asset guide when they're on social media, so they're not just putting their own stuff on there that doesn't make sense.
What about promotions and discounts that usually distributors give their retailers and the retailers pass that on to a end customer?
Yeah.
Who decides on those promotions and
So
discounts?
if it's a large one, then it would be in a conversation with me. So I would then ensure that the distributor can keep their own margin. And we have an acceptable margin, and we both probably have to discount at some point the product. So they would place an order with a discounted order, and then they would provide a discount to the retailer. Usually it's based on more product being sold. If it's a local thing, then the full responsibility of the distributor. If it's a very small thing, I don't need to know if it's a one-day thing in Lulu or in Baby Shop or Baby Essentials. If you're just doing a one-day thing, I'm comfortable with that. But if it's a long-term, large campaign promotion, then it would be me who authorises that.
Okay, correct.
And then another thing is they must be comfortable giving a level of financial reporting.
Is that number 6?
That's number 6, yeah.
Yes, I do know about that.
Their level of sales, their margin, their level of stock, their stock issues, how much that's cost them, how much they're paying for listing fees, etc., etc. So I tend to ask for that about every quarter. Sometimes it's a little bit longer.
What ROI are you looking for?
It depends on the business. Some businesses, the current business is 40.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice.
More
That's really good.
is 20.
Should be in product business.
We're in the wrong business.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll employ Adam.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can take that as an average. Some products may be a lot less, some products may be a lot higher.
Also, per distributor, it'll be different depending on how much they buy from you.
So, yeah, as a distributor, it'll be a lot different. Most distributors work between 20 and 30.
Yeah.
Some work less. Some have a different model. Some like to sell more, so they actually have they don't have as higher RRP, but that's got to be agreed through me. And it's got to obviously feed through to the sales.
RP is rebate price.
So RRP, recommended retail price.
It's recommended
You don't know
retail
that?
price. No. It's a very retail specific
I
thing,
knew
I
that
think.
one.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Some people have different names for it. SRP, suggested retail price. I'm just used to RRP. That's just the way I am. And then the final, number 7, is you must, as a brand, ensure you're working closely with your partners. Quite another mistake that a lot of small businesses do when they enter into a market. They go, there you go, thank you, give me the sales, and they don't actually create a relationship and work with them. Even though it's a brand to brand, brand to distributor, people still buy from people.
Yeah, that's true.
So as one of my biggest jobs, not only to manage them, it's also to create a relationship with them.
But Brush Baby particularly does not have any retail presence anywhere, right? You're a manufacturer.
No, so we're a brand. We manufacture in China, we manufacture in Ireland. We've got about we don't own the facilities, but we've got four factories, and we have retailers all over the world. So some of the largest retailers in the UK, which is obviously we deal with directly, Boots, Tesco, Sainsbury's, Next. Across the world, we're dealing with a lot with Amazon, Walmart, Baby Shop, Centrepoint, some big retailers in Europe, Auchan, DM. We're opening Mothercare in the Philippines in the next few months. With some babies, it's not called Baby Essentials, there's a website and a store in India, and the name escapes me, I'm sorry, but we'll be opening there soon. So we do have some retail channels. Yeah.
Okay.
Tmall in China, JD.
So you have like a mix of distribution and other sales
So
channels.
the distributors will manage those retailers for us.
Ah, okay.
The only one we manage directly is Amazon in Europe, which is obviously e-commerce, and any UK customer.
Okay, so your primary channel is always going to be a distributor for you.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, the reason for that is because there's so many local market differences.
That you, yeah.
Which we're going to talk about
Yes.
in part 2.
We are not going to touch upon that, Ron.
So I think maybe that's the end of part 1, right?
Okay.
And we'll talk more specifically about different regions in part 2. I can't ask you what's for breakfast, Anita, because I think it's arrived, but not on this table. So
But I promise you in
so we might have
part
that
2 we will
at
have
the
breakfast.
beginning of part 2. Please watch and listen to part 2 because it's actually going to be very, very entertaining.
And before we wind down part
There you
1, I
go.
just want to remind everybody that we are talking about how to market a global product locally. We're also going to touch upon how to expand your business in international, in other countries basically. And Adam is here, an expert in FMCG, and he's going to give us a lot of interesting tips and advice.
And where can we be found?
Yeah, so our podcast is, as always, aired on our YouTube channel. It's MH Consultants. You can find us on YouTube and also on Instagram at MH Consultants _Bahrain. So thank you for watching part 1 of how to market your global product locally.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Adam.